All right, let's rock and roll. Everybody's here. Meeting of the Scituate Board of Health, Monday, July 24th, 2017, Selectmen's Chambers Halls, Town Hall, 6 p.m. I'll take a motion to open the meeting and accept the agenda, please.
Motion to open the meeting for Monday, the 24th, and accept the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, item number 1, schedule items. Discuss/vote Scituate Harbor, 146 to 162 Front Street. Shared dumpster area, Hamilton Company Incorporated Restaurant Oro, Sam's, and Scituate China Gourmet. And I'm going to ask Jen to fill us all in so everybody knows why we're all here and what we're doing. And then everybody will hear from everybody, and then we'll try and find a resolute to this.
So the dumpster area located behind Restaurant Oro has been a difficult area to keep clean over the last year and a half. Our food inspector has been obviously inspecting the restaurants around this area for a number of years, and originally brought to my attention in February of 2016 the deteriorating conditions associated with that area. I sent a letter to the contact information that I had for the owner at that time in February, and didn't get, actually originally I sent a letter to Restaurant Oro with the understanding that it was their dumpster since it was physically located behind their restaurant. I received a response and was told that in fact it wasn't specifically theirs. Yes, they contribute to it, but in fact it is a shared dumpster area for not only the food establishments located at that building, but also the other tenants that take up residence and have their businesses there. So I reached out, I went to the assessors, reached out to the point of contact for the ownership shortly thereafter, and at that point hadn't received a response. We received complaints from food establishments that the dumpster area was unkempt, unclean, unsanitary, and also from passerbys and residents and people who frequent that part of town for their own shopping enjoyment, complaining about the smell, the look, and the fact that the garbage was all over the place. So I reached out to, with better contact information, I reached out to the owner in June of this year, documenting the concerns that we had at the Board of Health. Food inspector and I conducted a number of inspections where loose food was on the ground, garbage bags were on the ground in various states of open or close. The cardboard dumpster was routinely overflowing. The dumpster lid was open. Seagulls and seagull droppings were everywhere, and just not a good area, not a good representation of what the area should look like. So the food inspector and I happened to be conducting an inspection somewhere else, parked in that area, walked by, and we met up with one of the gentlemen who was cleaning the area post 4th of July, and kind of got an understanding of what they believed their roles and responsibilities were as the landlord. And we've heard from the restaurant owners, or at least one of them, what they thought their responsibility was. And through all of this, there does not seem to be a simple way to make sure that the area is kept clean through me and my office. We've been working on this for a year and a half, and we haven't really made any progress. So thought that it was best if everybody were to come together, talk about it, and see what everybody felt their roles and responsibilities were, and how we were going to achieve compliance with the sanitary code and make sure that this area is kept in a good sanitary way. I happened to be there on other business on Friday and noticed that the cardboard dumpster was overflowing, and it remains overflowing as of this morning. The general conditions were much improved as of this morning. There was no garbage on the ground, there were no bags of trash, and all of the containers were closed. So that was the best I had seen it look in the last year and a half, with the exception of the day after 4th of July weekend when we were actually watching it being cleaned. We thought that it was best to have you all come in and get a true understanding of where things are at from your perspective.
She said everything that I was going to say.
Sorry.
So, no, that's beautiful. So the next thing is what, as stated at the beginning of the meeting, is that we heard Jen's perspective and the town's perspective and our perspective. Now let's hear from each of you as to what you think your responsibilities are, what your concerns are, and how to divvy up the responsibilities just so this doesn't keep happening. And I don't know who's who, so
No,
I'm just a walk-in.
you are walking.
he can take the floor at first.
So you are Neil from?
Neil Campbell from the Health Company.
All right, beautiful. And just speak up so everything gets
Sure.
on.
So we maintain the dumpster area. We maintain a contract with a waste provider to empty those dumpsters. Was 3 times a week, it's now increased to 4 times a week.
Correct.
After our meetings and talks with Jen, we've increased it. We provide cardboard on site as well. We have additional cardboard next to the hardware store. We moved one of those dumpsters recently now into the dumpster area because we find that people aren't walking over next to the hardware store to put it in there. So I guess, and we have our superintendent, Brian, there inspecting it daily.
Well, that's,
Taking excess to the dump.
that was just, right, that was just a quick question, because I saw that your updates and policies over your past month, and it said daily monitoring of dumpster and trips to the transfer station needed.
Yeah, the other thing we added was, and you know, I'm not there daily, but what I'm hearing from a lot of the restaurants is people from the marina will come by and throw their trash in there, and they just throw it over the fence, or sometimes they go in and actually throw
What
it
I
in the
did, I've
dumpster.
seen happen, pull right next and throw over the fence bags of trash. That's the marina. I don't know if the marina, I'm the owner of the Sands Restaurant.
Yep.
I don't know if the marina has a dumpster or not, with the boards. But
So,
I've seen a lot of them, not just once or twice, walking by and throwing, matter of fact, Robert was sitting out there one night, I was talking, and right over the trash, they're throwing the, bags, we can't control that.
Well, before we get into that, and we can delve into that a little more, I just wanted to say that, yeah, that's what we're doing in our mind, what we're supposed to be doing. We're monitoring it. I think we've increased that now that, it's become such an issue, to do even more than what we considered to be reasonable before. So I think we're definitely doing what we feel to be reasonable, and if you don't feel that's the case, then we'll do whatever you think is necessary to comply. But, I feel like we're doing.
well, ultimately, it's a shared responsibility.
Yeah,
So-
again, another thing we just added was a lock on the gate to
Yeah.
try to keep people out. Now, that's not gonna stop people from throwing things over the fence, like you mentioned.
Correct.
But it could deter people that try to get in there. Sitting here and thinking about it, maybe we need to add some signage, letting people know that it's monitored by video and they would be prosecuted if they throw trash, and maybe that'll stop people from throwing trash. So maybe some additional signage on the outside of the fence could help.
There's plenty of illegal dumping signs. out there.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna
Just for
make a
this
difference.
just for this reason.
But we started locking the gate, but again, I would look to the restaurant staff to make sure they continue to lock it after themselves. So we found it open a couple times.
So I have a question. So behind Oro, and I lived in the town for a while, so there's 2 dumpsters there, one for cardboard, one for garbage?
There's 2 for cardboard now and one for a dumpster. But I want to back up just a couple seconds.
Okay.
I'm Brian Stiles, by the way. We monitor some of the cleaning and there's stuff down in that building. But probably a year and a half ago, we had a compactor, which was an 11-yard compactor, which was short and below the fence line, so nobody could really see it. So some of the restaurants said it's too smelly, it's not maintained, it's not empty enough. So we put a 5-yard dumpster back there. So, or maybe it's a 6-yard
It's a
dumpster.
10-yard.
Or 10-yard, excuse me.
It's a 10.
So that is above the fence line, and everybody driving out sees it. And I think just people seeing it, they now think it's a public dumpster like they thought the bathrooms were public restrooms. So, I mean, there has been talk about increasing, we're at 4 days a week now for the dumpster pickup. Everybody's been doing a good job, not parking in front of the fence. We put no parking signs and load and zoning signs in front of the fence. And also, maybe going back to the compactor. I thought there was a significant difference in the size. So that maybe it was a 10-yard that's there now, and the compactor is maybe a 15-yard. So, and it's contained, it pushes all the trash to the front, and then they deodorize it when they empty it. So I think that may be another logical solution.
Give it the whole thing brand, they gotta clean it every time.
Well, the problem with the compactor that we found was that people would, it got emptied, it worked great, but, you know, it doesn't get physically picked up. So things would collect underneath
It
it.
gets nasty.
They rot,
Right.
and you can't get at them.
Right,
I
it
mean,
gets
we shoot a
nasty.
hose under there or whatnot, Brian does when he does the dock cleaning,
Yeah, what he
and that
gets
helps a
nasty.
little bit, but, you know, that was the big complaint, that
Right.
and especially in the heat of the summer,
Right.
that you'd have an issue there. That's why we switched, like a year and a half ago to a
Right.
10-yard, saying, you know, maybe this will be better.
Right.
So,
Clearly, it hasn't.
so with those dumpsters, you have China Gourmet, Sam's, Oro,
And everybody in the building.
Everyone in the entire building.
and
So
anyone with
basically-
the dog
Yeah.
things and all that.
You have the three restaurants using it, and then you have the office staff using it, the office upstairs. The cleaners in the building take down the office trash.
Right.
So it's just, and then the dog place and some of the other retailers actually don't use it, or they claim they don't use it, because they don't want to share in the cost of it, so they take their trash to the dumps, because most of them are local people that live in the area. And they don't produce a lot of trash.
So each restaurant brings their own stuff there, and they're supposed to break down the cardboard, put the trash into the thing,
Correct.
and all that.
And now lock the gate, right?
Right, okay.
Can I ask a pair of
Yep.
questions? So a couple of weeks ago, the do not park sign was not up. Have you seen a difference in the parking in just those couple of weeks?
Well, I personally installed that. The no parking sign I put up probably 4 months ago. The morning you guys were there, the gates were open.
Right.
So you wouldn't have probably seen the signs.
Okay,
And I think, forgive me, is it Nellie, the health inspector? So she said put one on the other side,
yep,
which we haven't yet, but there's still one on the main gate.
okay.
Again, to backtrack a little bit, the pet store and the toy store, the majority of their trash is cardboard. So they just, rather than going back there where there's only a 2 or 3 yard cardboard disposal, they take it right to the dump usually.
No,
But,
no,
They don't.
well, I mean, the times that I've seen it, I've seen.
They claim
them-
it. I-
They claim that
I-
they do, so.
They claim it.
and they have a considerable amount of cardboard.
They claim to do, whether they do or not, I mean,
There is also 2
you're there on a
4-yard
daily basis, Jill, so you know.
cardboard.
I see the labels. on that.
Compactor.
Yeah.
At the.
Well, you
at
can
one
certainly
64
tell,
front.
excuse me, you can certainly tell if it's from a box of tomatoes or if it's Legos. You can tell the difference of who's creating the trash.
And we can
so-
see it going to the dumpster.
Right. Russell?
The box, Jill,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
you were there, I just was curious, were the boxes broken down that were overflowing, or were they?
So
Well,
I-
you can take, have you guys
So,
seen one of these
Those,
pictures?
those were not this morning. Those were, Nellie took those on the 3rd of July. And although, yes, it's the 3rd of July after a very long, busy weekend, those photos are indicative of what she routinely has seen in the area. To specifically answer your question about what I saw this morning, it was a combination of broken down cardboard and some, not a lot, but some full, unbroken down cardboard sitting next to the dumpster. But even the broken down, it was overflowing and then spilling onto the ground. But I do say I was really pleased today to see that was the only thing. If there's one thing that's overflowing and that's the thing, it's a vast improvement from where we've been. But there is an awful lot of cardboard, but most of it was broken down.
And on July, the dump was closed on Monday. So the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 4 days, we had trash pickup where we had somebody take cardboard and trash to the transfer station and go over the scale because we couldn't, it wasn't recyclable stuff, and we just threw it away. So there was an absolute, catastrophic amount of cardboard that weekend,
Correct.
and trash that you know, it was just too overwhelming to stay on top of.
Correct.
That's a tough weekend for everybody, and I don't know, to me, it sounds like you guys are moving in the right direction. Trying, but we just gotta keep it that way. I mean, if the neighbors are complaining and the businesses, you're only gonna hurt yourself by not doing it, you know? Customers will see that and walk the other way. And, I don't know if, as you said, more signage, does it do any good? Cameras, does that help? The lighting, it's a shame that I read something got vandalized 4 times. Any reason, do you think they got vandalized? Is it for the fact that they're trying to hide that dumpster? To throw
Again,
stuff in it, or people out there doing illegal things? Is it a
it's
place to
hiding
hide?
spot- It's a hiding spot for nips, and, you know.
So you got people
Yeah.
taking a pop around the corner, and I get it, and I don't know if you can cage those lights or not, or put them up higher, or change the location. But you guys are moving in a positive way. I see it. It's great forward progress. I love it. It's just the fact, you know, we gotta resolve it. Yeah,
It's, the lighting fixtures now are encased and they're higher in the loading dock area.
Oh,
And
good.
there's a camera in there now.
Would
There's,
higher fencing help, barbed wire fencing a little higher? I don't know how it would look aesthetically to
Yeah.
keep people from throwing the trash over. I think once you catch 1 or 2 of them and embarrass them, they won't come back, you know?
Saturday morning I was there from 6 to 7:10 a.m. and I was in my truck for about 20 minutes doing some paperwork.
Yeah.
There was 3 people, 2 out-of-state plates, 3 people in a 15-minute span, that 2 over the fence and a third ripped the gates open, whipped the stuff in, and was giving me dirty looks because we were taking pictures of his plate. And it's not fair to, everything collects there, and it's a reflection of poorly on Oro, but it's not their fault. It's the entire building going there, it's the town going there, and.
Understood, and those people, I get it. I've lived in a community my whole life down at Humrock where you get people that come in for a week, and 99% of them are really good. It's that one that just ruins it for everybody else, and I get it. It's just, you know, I think the lock's a great idea. Hopefully that'll work, you know? And I get it. They got that trash. They don't know what to do with it, and they're desperate to get rid of it. They don't want to drive with it back to New Hampshire or New York or wherever they're going. I get it. It's not right, but I understand it.
And most of the
In the
time,
meantime,
it's.
we get blamed.
I understand,
Right.
right,
And
but.
that's why we figured it was good for you all to
Yeah,
come in and
that's-
tell
Right.
us both
You
your
know, the
concerns
oral,
and your
me,
issues,
everybody,
right?
we get blamed for the people, even the people that come in at the board, visitors.
I would say
They're
the
not gonna take it with them.
positive thing that's come out of it is a greater understanding on my part anyway, that, you know, I always thought, all right, it's Ormero's personnel, they're, you know, it's not Robin, because I know Robin's not taking the trash out, but it's his guys, they're lazy and they're just throwing it down, or it's Sam's guy. So I've got a greater understanding that it's not them, it's a lot of, it's the, I mean, there may be a day when a guy's lazy, but it's a day, it's the marina, it's just the area.
Especially in the
people throwing
summertime,
things
this is when it's.
over on that high.
Well, I think.
Can a netting be put over that or anything like that? We live in
what's that
Scituate.
gonna-
It's-
What's that gonna
Oh,
do?
no,
It's
'cause
still
then
Where
gonna-
they gonna go? It's
they
gonna go
can't
down.
access the dumpster to empty it if you put a net over the top.
Yeah, I meant way over the top, like a roof netting, you know?
Over, yeah.
Do they open the gates and pull it out, or bring the
Yeah.
truck in and?
They do, but they open the gates and drive the truck
And then-
right up to it and they lift it up.
Oh, right, so it would have to be really high.
Yeah.
I got what you're saying, yeah, just shooting from the hip, you know?
Question about the lock. When was the lock on the gate?
Just
installed?
recently, in the last week and a half or so.
Because I was able to get in today without,
The lock's been on, right?
yeah.
We put a cable lock on and circulated the combination, and twice we've gone down, the cable's been off and just draped over the fence. So the fence has been hit and it's damaged, so the only way we can lock it now is with a cable with the lock on it. So it has a padlock built into the cable, so it's just a way of, you know, we gotta find a way to keep it back on there. I mean, personally, I think getting the dumpster below the fence line, below that sight line is the way to do it. And the problems really started happening when we went from a compactor to a open dumpster. The smell is a lot worse, the birds are a lot worse. You know, we all don't have time to worry about how many seagulls are, you know, pecking away and
That's
grabbing
it,
trash
yeah,
out of
yeah.
it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we had complaints when it was a 10-yard, when it was a 10 or 15-yard compactor too, because like I said, things collect underneath. But, yeah, I don't think, it certainly wasn't as messy. as it's been.
I mean, a lot of the due diligence, and I've been in the restaurant business most of my life. The tough part is it's not you guys as the owner, it's your employees. That kid doesn't wanna go unlock it, and he just throws it over, or they don't wanna break down the boxes. And it's more of, you know, as the owners, the policeman, after Joe takes it to the dumpster, someone takes a walk over.
Every day for the last 2 months, I sent one of my guys for 10-15 minutes to pick up, after I got there, to pick up, and you can see, if you see the cameras, you're gonna see
Right.
young fellas picking up everything, you know, we're trying to do the best.
No, I'm just throwing out ideas, because some of these are not, I mean, there's a lettuce box, there's a tomato box, I mean,
I'm
that's.
sure some of it is that, because at the end of the shift, you're tired. and-
Right.
I mean, and then, is that the total problem? No, like I said, you got the neighbors and everything.
Cumulative problem.
I'm sure that's something that they'll have to police, you know, always. And the locking, relocking, I mean, that's, someone, they're not used to the
Yeah,
lock,
we-
so they're unlocking it, whether they forget to lock it, because they're not used
Yeah,
to
you just-
locking it and unlocking it, or
Right.
they just.
I'll be back out in a half hour, why bother locking it?
Well, I bet you some of it is too, the dumpster people, because they're not gonna get back out of the truck and lock that up either. I
Yeah,
mean,
that could be it too.
Plus, you get so many people, you know, nobody knows the combination, you know, you get 10, you know, I got my house, all of us is out, everybody's gonna know that if somebody takes something out, you gotta know the combination, you gotta have 10 different keys.
Right.
That's not gonna work.
That's not gonna work. Neil, maybe you could, and you probably already have, you know, just circulate a memorandum to, aside from the tenants here that, you know, the heavy users of it, the ones that, you know, if you think the toy store, the pet store, whomever is using it, just say, you know, please, as much as you can, again, please police yourself after you throw your boxes away. And I'm sure you probably already did
I've
that.
done it verbally, walking around.
I know, but you wanna know what? Sometimes you just gotta keep hitting people over the head with the same thing, same thing.
Yeah, no.
And then they'll tell their employees, and then, you know, hopefully, it is just for the greater good. And as Russell said, you know, nobody wants it to stink, certainly nobody wants an eyesore, and
No,
certainly,
we don't, we want.
nobody wants to see the seagulls diving in. and doing-
These are our tenants, so we want them to be successful. We want
Correct.
it to be a clean area, and
Yeah,
that's part of
correct.
it, so. I mean,
Right.
We want you to be successful in the town,
And
right? That's all part of the package.
I feel like we're doing our part, but
Yeah,
it's still an issue though.
That's why I say there's good forward movement, but unfortunately,
We
it
spend,
falls
you know,
back onto
we spend
you.
upwards of $25,000 a year on that dumpster, just on trash.
Yeah.
I believe
it's
it,
not-
I believe it,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
believe it.
so with the increased frequency of pickup, and you folks would know best because you're the ones that use it daily, with the increased frequency of pickup, is it full each time it's picked up?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, because I was thinking if it's picked up more frequently, we might be able to get the smaller volume and thus deal with the sightline issue. But if it's full,
They've been doing a
each
full-
day, that's not gonna work
Well,
either.
they just started doing the 4th pickup
Just started it?
Well, a couple weeks ago.
a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I mean, just the extra pickup and not blocking the gate, it is 100 times better already. In my opinion, I mean, because the amount of trash that, over the weekend, they're coming Friday morning and then Sunday night, or Monday
Monday
morning,
morning,
so
yeah.
they're hitting that heavy spot. And the thing is, they're on a route, they don't have time to stop and beep and have cars moved. If there's anything blocking the gate,
Yeah, they don't.
they just keep
Yeah,
going.
see you later,
Now,
right.
you're closest. So have you seen an improvement in the last couple of weeks with the pickup being 4 times a week?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, it could be picked up every day and it would still almost be full.
For the
I mean,
summertime.
There's
For
just,
summer?
if you
Yeah.
think about it, that dumpster is for 3 functioning restaurants
Mhm.
and other office spaces and everything else. And you look at the Mill Wharf, they have their own dumpster for their private use, and they fill that thing up, and that's one restaurant. And, you know, other places, so it's really, it's the frequency of the pickup is what it really.
Does the
needs
marina
to-
have a dumpster there?
No,
They
I
do
haven't
not?
seen one.
I haven't seen
Our
one.
boats right back there, they have like 2 big trash cans, as far as I know, they don't have anything else there.
Because the Mill Wharf doesn't seem to be struggling with the illegal dumping that all
That's
of
because
you seem to
cars
reference.
drive.
And don't forget,
So
it's
they go
open,
past
open
you on the
area.
way
They
out.
drive, you have to go through your
that
parking
way.
lot to come out, ours is the only, that's the exit,
They stop right there, they throw it, and
And then they
Get
go.
going.
yeah.
Plus, the Millwork, they got all the windows, they open people in and out all night long, you know what I mean? It's difficult with a while, you know? I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm out of there at 2 o'clock every day. You know, that's another thing. But, you know, even for me, it's very difficult to patrol there, you know what I mean?
Of course.
You both are pretty quiet. What do you think, you know, because you're living this, I mean, in particular, you know, I
Well,
think it reflects poorest on Oro because like the assumption I made, it
Yeah.
looks like it's
It's
Oro's
Oro's
dumpster,
dumpster.
and you kind of go, all right, well, if this is what the back of the house looks like, what's going on? And we don't want that impression for anybody.
Yeah,
So
and it
do
comes
you
right
have
up to
any
our back door.
suggestions? Right.
So the trash and everything that's left there, you step over or walk into, going in and out. And then our delivery guys come, and that's usually how they come in. Half the time they can't even get by because there's trash and stuff everywhere. And the person that picks up the dumpster puts it back down wherever they can fit it. They don't care if it's blocking the door or, you know,
Boxes go under
yeah,
there.
it blocks. So then the guys have to go through the restaurant with dollies and, it's really, I mean, it is what it is. It's a small space. It's a storage issue for the whole building. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's just the frequency of pickup needs to happen
It is a
more
small
often.
area too.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's
You're
really.
limited in what you can fit in there, it's part of the
Friday
problem.
and Monday.
And like she said, the frequency, I think by going up to the 4
Friday.
days, that's
Friday,
making
Monday.
a huge issue. Huge.
And you'll do that up through Labor Day, I'm assuming,
I
and,
think May through the end of September.
We haven't set a date when we'd stop it,
No,
but
Friday.
yeah, I mean, in the winter months, obviously, it's a lot.
Friday.
It's a lot.
Who's the trash hauler?
EMLS.
EMLS, yeah.
And they do cardboard, they're doing the cardboard too?
They do the cardboard too. So,
We have to take care of it.
I have to, I've got a complaint in there because the cardboard guy, I don't know who he is, but he comes and if it's overflowing, he just swipes it on the ground,
Saturdays, no.
empties it, and drives away.
Oh, yeah,
Leaves
they,
it on the ground.
Well, and it's sort of the same thing with the trash. If the bags aren't in the dumpster, the guy's not gonna take them.
Right.
The trash guy's a little better. He-
They put it back down and the bags are still there.
Or they
Right.
fall
So then
into
some,
the,
yeah,
yeah.
and then you have to put the dumpster wherever the bags are not
Yeah, the
resting.
trash guy's a little better, he gets out of the truck, the cardboard guy is,
Yeah.
he's kinda ridiculous, he just.
There's been times when the dumpster's been put back down and physically blocking the entrance or the egress for Oro's back door. So again, I'm a big advocate for the compactor, the footprint is half the size. So if, he can only put it down in one spot, and then that gives the dollies, you know, the delivery people a way around the dumpsters and in, and they cannot physically block their egress.
But it's gonna be worse every other day than it then.
Yeah.
The
I-
dumpster.
Well, then you have to have somebody standing by when they're
When he
lifting
takes
the
it, yeah.
compactor up in the air.
Well, that's
or-
the issue,
that's-
no one's usually
Yeah.
there when it happens, and then how do you
Yeah,
wash
I mean,
it,
they
so-
Because
come-
it's early in the morning.
What time do they come and dump it, take it?
It's varies, but it's usually,
Yeah, it depends.
varies. But-
Depends.
I mean, I'm fine with, I'll go with whatever everyone here wants is what I'll do, but,
right.
you know, the reason we switched out from the compactor was because there was issues with things underneath, and it was causing flies and other things, so.
Now, with your dumpster people now, when they empty it, do they, especially in the summer, rinse it with bleach or soap or anything
They're
to?
supposed to do it, I don't know if they're doing it.
Yeah,
They haven't been, but when I spoke to the salesman for that route a couple weeks ago, he said to me that they'll start spraying it with a disinfectant. I don't know what they use, but that's supposed to be being
And
done.
Brian does that periodically as well.
Yeah, there's a dock and dumpster treatment we clean. It's like, it's like a
Yeah.
bacteria that you spray down and it grabs all this stuff and, I
Now,
mean,
not-
that's done twice a week. And it's $25 for a little quart of that
right.
microorganism stuff.
not familiar with a compactor, but saying the stuff that gets under it, is there a way to block it so it comes up a little bit so you can get under it better? Or is there maybe a way to put it on a rubber mat or something so nothing gets under it?
I don't know how stuff would get under it. It sits flat on the ground.
Right.
Um,
But just comment, I heard that stuff can get under it and cause an odor
It could
and,
be liquids, it could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the thing is with those compactors, they stop leaking, so.
so you're squishing garbage in there and everything, so
Right.
that
So
leaks,
like,
it gets
you
in
know,
under it.
Someone puts a thing of milk, half milk, and then all of a sudden it starts leaking underneath the dumpster,
Right.
so.
Well, that's why I say if you block it up, then it gets air under there and you can hose it under better.
Yeah.
Or if you had, but you can't really do the rubber mat because that's you'd have to have it drained somewhere, and that's gonna cause more of a problem.
Right.
Right.
Having it drain. Like I say, just shooting from the hip,
They
you
have
know.
done that.
Yeah, no,
Underneath.
any suggestions, I'm welcome to them, believe me.
Yeah.
Like a 6x6.
Yeah, 6 by 6.
I mean, I think the trash pickup 4 times a week, cardboard 2, maybe 3, because cardboard seems to be
What's
Yeah.
cardboard, what's cardboard now, 2?
twice.
Twice?
It's a small dumpster, right?
Yeah,
We increased the
yeah,
price
it's smaller.
Yeah. You know, 4, it could even be 5 in the
So
summertime,
cardboard's
for
up to
June,
3.
July, and August.
Cardboard's up to 3.
If there's a place to put the trash, it's very easy to put the trash
Right.
in the dumpster. But if the dumpster's full,
And we have
what are we
two-
supposed to do with the
we
trash?
have
Leave it
two
inside
other-
the restaurant?
I'm sorry.
Right.
I mean, that's disgusting. Yeah, I don't want that.
We have 2 other cardboard containers next to the hardware store that are available for people to use. I just, nobody ever walks over there.
Right.
Yeah, but
Those
nobody
are-
knows that,
those
nobody's
are-
gonna walk over there.
Those are, you know, empty.
But one was slid over from the hardware store.
We just slid one over now, so now there's one still over there, one extra one over there for overflow.
Well, again, as Steve said earlier, that might be a memorandum to go out, a little more re-education for your tenants, and the tenants can re-educate their employees to say,
Constant re-education.
yeah.
And remind
You know, if the
them-
cardboard's full, then walk it over. I'm sure some kid would love to take that 10-minute walk.
And, yeah, right, and break it down, and break it
Yeah,
down.
retired shift, I don't know.
And reminding the tenants that aren't participating in your program, that they shouldn't be participating in their program. You know, so if part of the problem is that the cardboard is being left by tenants who aren't participating in the shared system, reminding them that they're
Yeah, But I
not.
assume you all have HOA fees, and you
So-
probably include their, can use it or not.
Correct,
It's
so
their
if you're
discretion.
using it, you're paying, yeah, that's part of your CAM.
Correct,
So if you're not using it, then we can take that line item out of your CAM, but,
but there's no way to police that, so if somebody
Well,
brings.
they have cameras,
well, we have cameras.
so they,
Yeah, but time is money, I mean, you're gonna sit there and
Yeah,
police the cameras of
honestly,
somebody.
honestly, do we
Right.
police it? No, we don't, but if I get word, like Jill showed me a couple pictures of somebody that I didn't know was using it, and, yeah, then I know.
You police it when necessary.
Yeah,
Mm.
if I know it's an issue, I'll do it, you know, then we'll have to step it up and start policing it ours.
Remember, you're at a public meeting on camera, you don't want to,
But no, we don't regularly police it unless I get word from somebody that's an
Correct.
issue, then
Correct.
we stop.
Correct.
so,
2 yards.
so
I think they're on the right track, John.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it's one of those where we see how the next several weeks go with the increased pickup. Maybe if you're willing to educate all of the tenants, obviously the ones sitting here know, but educate the other tenants what you can and cannot use it for. Collectively think about what makes sense for volume and that height, you know, to be less attractive to the general public, if the frequency of the pickup isn't helping enough. But send a memo to the occupants, reminding them what they can and can't do and what they should and shouldn't do. And then have everybody maybe give me feedback from all of your perspectives, because you each have a slightly different role to play, a slightly different location in the mix, and let me know how it's going. And then if necessary, we can revisit further improvements.
Yeah, and I think communication's a big part of it. I'm there once a week. These guys are there every day. So if you're, you know, touching base with feedback, and they're touching base with feedback, then we can know if there are additional steps that need to happen.
And signage, you know, as much as people ignore signs, but, you know, people know it's punishable by a fine if they're illegal dumping.
No, I'll put out a memo, and I'll add a signage to the gate, just saying that, you know.
Somebody with New York plates may not care, they may just say.
Yeah, video monitored,
Yeah.
you know, and hopefully that takes
What
it.
what is the police action on something like that? Would that be considered trespassing? Would it
It's
be?
illegal dumping.
Illegal dumping.
Illegal dumping.
Yeah.
So that's, I get
Yeah.
illegal dumping on town property, but I guess if you're illegal dumping on private property and, so is that a misdemeanor offense?
I'm not sure, yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not
But I'm
sure.
even.
That's part of your signage. You might want to know and inquire down at the police department and,
I might say it is even if it isn't on the sign. But,
Well, I'm just saying that, punishable by a $500 fine, a $1,000 fine, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's only a $50 fine and somebody would
Right.
laugh at it. I'll throw the bag in the thing and take the $50 hit. What do I care? But at least you know if it's on the sign, working with the police department, if you have video there and you get somebody's license plate,
well, we don't have video on the outside, which I was just gonna say.
like I says, I think you nail one or two
It's not much to
people
add
and
to
word
cameras
gets
on
out.
the outside there too, I think, if we're gonna have a sign and we're gonna actually maybe enforce it and continue to be an issue, then, we'll need the video, so I will probably add a camera to the outside as well. There's an inside camera that, in the dumpster, right?
Right.
There isn't one on the outside.
Right.
There is one camera on the outside in the dumpster area that pans down to the dumpster area and outside the gate, but you can't see the license plates. And the rest are inside.
All you're seeing is
Pull
the
up
bag
on
coming over the
driveway where
fence.
you pull out, they can
Yeah.
just park right next to that fence and hide their total vehicle and toss it right over the top.
So you know what they're doing,
Let me
so
ask you-
that's,
Let me ask you a question. When you were there Saturday morning at 6:30 in the morning, were they voters or were they people?
They appear to be voters, yeah. Like coming off their boat, going to grab coffee and throwing the trash in, as they were leaving, pulling out.
And maybe it's a conversation with the marina owners. Say, hey, look, we're taking in all of the rubbish from
Well, maybe that's
folks who use the marina.
for you, conversation for you.
That would be up to you people, because if I go up there and say something, they're gonna look at me like I have two heads. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not saying you, but I'm
Right,
saying,
yeah.
you as a property owner are receiving waste from another property owner, and their users. So,
Right.
is it something that they're willing to provide for their users?
How about we provide a dumpster for the marina? And then they can put all their trash over there.
Yeah, just send him the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just slip these bill up,
Yeah. And they will.
and they will.
I think you gotta be careful of that one though, because you don't know.
No, that's,
You're assuming, right? You're assuming it's from the marina, but you
Well,
don't.
but we
yeah,
see people from the marina.
Well, that's
coming
all right.
in.
That's what they've said.
He put a sign up that says you can't go to TK's and park here. He's assuming that people are going to TK's, but he doesn't know where people are going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
he put that sign up 2 years ago that said,
They have gone, they're still.
right,
wrong.
so he's assuming people, so who knows? Who knows?
Well, I like to see the, well, there you go. I was just gonna say, I like to see the positive.
Yeah, I
forward
think, I
movement.
think everybody, I think you guys are on the right track, so just
Okay,
keep doing the best you can do. Send the memos out to the rest of the tenants. Just make sure and reiterate, the policies. Break down a box or two, use the extra cardboard dumpster, et cetera, et cetera, et
It's
cetera.
gotta be a team effort because it affects the whole property.
Yeah, it affects everybody.
Affects
right.
all of everybody.
Here's the,
I see that. Affects everybody.
Christie the other day, that's the lock on the dumpster.
And then let me know what's from all of you. Let me know what's working and what's not working, and between us, we can pass along the communication to try to come up with a final resolution. Take it incrementally. But I will say it was a vast improvement just today's visit for sure.
Excellent,
I was much impressed.
excellent.
we're
Did
gonna
you have
try to
anything
do
to
the
add?
best, that's all. We're gonna try to send the guys out more often.
Sure, I have comments, I
Try to pick it up.
Great,
Well-
great.
Okay.
I'm Karen Canfield, and I just
Hi.
want to send, can the board, this, tell me if this is overstepping, but can't the Board of Health send a letter to the marina owner, just alerting them that there's been some concern, and put some of the burden on them to try to find a solution within the marina? Maybe they have to give out notices to when people, take a slip, says don't, just to remind people that it's private property. Try to get at that end of it as well.
Sure, but it's, as much as you just don't know who it's coming from. But
Right.
yeah, you
But that's a
can.
Right,
logical,
and that's-
It is very logical. It is very logical. It
even if
is.
it's just a friendly reminder from the town that the dumpsters surrounding the property are private property.
That is true.
Yeah, and this is sitting here this evening is the first time I've heard who everyone believes is participating in the waste disposal here. So this is the first time I've been hearing that there's, alleged marina users or,
Accumulation
right,
from
right.
other places, right.
So we're learning in this too.
Why do you say that though? Out-of-state plates dumping trash from the marina. What would they be doing at the marina? Why would they have trash? Because anybody using the marina, I would think is fairly local.
Or unless they're down visiting and then they're leaving, hey, take this bag, throw it over for, you know?
Yeah, I guess, I
Or
guess.
they're visiting.
Because a boat owner, I would think, would know because they rent from the Mill Wharf.
You see, the problem starts from the end of April to the end of October.
So there's a
Yeah.
common denominator there.
You know, everything, you know what I mean?
It's a common
In the
denominator.
winter time, you know, it's,
Not completely, because, I've sent letters in February and November.
yeah, but you.
So we're
No, I
talking
know.
a 12-month problem, increasing, of course, in the summertime
Yeah,
with
the
more
summertime, that's
people,
what I'm
but
saying. The win- you
it's
know,
a
winter time, if it
consistent.
becomes winter, we can take care of it much easier.
Right.
Now we know what the problem. But
Right.
now, you know, we start the end of April to the end of October, you're increasing the people, you know, how many boats down there? And everybody else, and I see it with my eyes thrown over the dumpster, over the fence. So that would create problem, that the bag is gonna break on the floor. Who's gonna pick that up?
Right.
My people will have to pick it up. Or the other people gotta pick it up. Or the Chinese people have to pick it up. You know, it's not fair.
Right.
And it's, you know, and that's why we're trying to get to, you know, have the discussion and try to get to a resolution, because quite honestly, I've spent a lot of time on this. I've spent more time on this dumpster than I've spent on a lot of things. So it shouldn't be the responsibility of each one of you to worry about everyone
No, you're right,
else.
yeah.
But it's the responsibility of each one
For
of you,
yourself,
plus
yeah,
all the
yeah.
other tenants, to make sure that there's a manageable, workable solution.
Yeah.
And
We're gonna try to do
Trying
our
to-
best, like I said, you know, that's
Team effort.
it.
Absolutely.
Understood.
That's all we can do.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so please follow up with me, the pluses and the minuses
Okay.
with the additional pickup, so that we can kind of see where we're at in a few
I'll,
weeks.
I'll call you in a
Great.
couple weeks, Jen,
Okay.
just to see what your feedback is, if you had any, and, you know, we'll make changes if necessary and go from there.
Thank you,
Great.
Neil.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye. Okey dokey. Thanks, thank you very much. Alrighty, new business, discuss last vote, election of Board of Health Chairman. So, I think the consensus opinion is Dougie's the next chairman?
Dougie's
You wanna be the chairman?
Sure.
willing. I'm a believer to switch things up every so often.
Yeah. Alright,
And you've been sitting over there for 2 years, so might as well,
yep,
Take the hot seat.
yep.
yeah.
Alright, so,
I'd make a motion to move to elect Doug White to the Board of Health Chairman for the current fiscal year FY18 to be effective July 25th, 2017. Oh, that's tonight? Oh, 2 nights.
I second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, alright, new chairman Dougie. Alright, next up is, Jen's director's report.
We have a lot to cover.
Alright,
The
beaches
fir-
are still good, they may not be tomorrow after all this rain.
Yeah, I know, we've been commiserating about that possibility
Yeah, all this
today.
rain is gonna flush out some nasty stuff.
Yeah, that
Right.
ocean though is cranked up and it's blowing easterly, so.
Yeah,
So maybe we'll push
keep it-
everything back
Push
in.
everything back in.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's swirled up pretty good with big currents. It'll be interesting to see. I was swimming yesterday and the waves were,
Moves all the stuff,
Waves
takes
were
it all
big.
out, and
Takes it all out, yeah.
redeposits it somewhere
The surfers.
else.
yeah.
The surfers will be out.
They should be, yeah. We were doing some heavy body surfing, yeah, Sunday afternoon. It was awesome. It was like late August, early September.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
On kind of to start off the director's report, kind of on a somber note, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the passing of Mr. Frank Lynch, who was a long-serving and dedicated member of the Board of Health. I did not have the pleasure of working with him or knowing him, but I know all of you knew him and knew what he provided to the board. And
I served
know
with
you
Frank.
were gonna
Yeah, I
speak.
served with Frank. He was a great mentor, I will say, for the Board of Health, yeah. Just a good listener and a good guy all around. So he'll be missed, boy. Right.
And then he was on the planning board, I think.
I believe he was.
Planning
Yeah.
board is-
After he left Board of Health, yeah.
Long history of community service,
Mm.
and by all accounts, I've been getting calls and hearing throughout town hall,
Yeah.
how he was certainly appreciated and will be absolutely sorely missed.
Mm.
So, in terms of current activities, I just kind of wanted to review the majority of what we cover in the Board of Health, since it's such a varied series of topics, and just kind of remind folks in general that we have a lot of responsibilities as this board, and some of them are seasonal, like pools, camps, and our beaches, where we keep our fingers crossed every Tuesday into Wednesday that the results are good. But there's a lot of year-round things that we cover: septic, housing, emergency preparedness and sheltering, which only is implemented, thank goodness, once a year, ideally once every couple of years, but it's a year-round 365-day effort to prepare and be able to respond if and when the time occurs, whether it's a hurricane, a nor'easter, a power outage, etc. It really does require planning and coordination all year round. We also are charged with the turbine and nuisance complaints, monitoring environmental releases in the community, tobacco sales and permitting, and now private wells. So we continue to be tasked with and take on a ton of responsibilities that require a lot of different activities and a knowledge base and coordination with the state at different levels. With the private wells, the regulations locally have been in place for about a month now. We are receiving some good questions and good inquiries about them. And it has reminded me that we need to work hard on the education process. And I think we're going to be relying heavily on the real estate community, asking the identifying to the realtors that these regulations are in place and that there are in fact certain requirements that come due at transfer of property, and asking them to assist us in educating homeowners. Joan and I discussed, sending out a letter to the folks that we know have private wells, the ones that have registered their wells with us, reminding them that there are regulations, please take a look and call us with any questions. So we're just now getting to the point, in amongst all of these other things that we're working on, to try to start that education process and reach out to community partners to have it run smoothly. So that's kind of next up. In terms of by the numbers, which I try to give you each time we meet, as we've said, beaches, the next sampling's tomorrow. We'll have a lot of stormwater to consider, so our fingers are crossed. Housing, we currently have 10 cases. That's up from the last time we met. We've received 2 complaints between the end of last week and the beginning of this week. So we're initiating inspections and response on those new ones. We have 4 nuisance cases, none of which are new. We still are monitoring 6 environmental releases. Septic has, if it's possible, septic has gotten busier. We received 5 new plans in a span of 7 days over the last week and a half. 3 as-built plans, 3 revised plans, and received 2 new plans this morning.
Is that new
So-
construction or repairs?
Both.
Both.
Both. And we still have 12 system and failures in various stage of response and repair. Food is extremely busy. We continue to inspect the farmers market at regularly unscheduled intervals. So we will be heading back there shortly. We're in the process of permitting for Heritage Days. The deadline for applications was Friday. So everybody who wanted to participate needed to have their applications in on Friday, allowing us the 2 weeks to process and request missing information that should have been provided in the packets. So we are working on that almost daily, trying to follow up with folks. As I mentioned at the last meeting, anecdotally, I was able to tell you that it had been a rough couple of weeks for Nellie as she was inspecting establishments in terms of the violations that she was seeing. So now I actually have the numbers and the details to support that. So between August 28th and July 13th, she conducted a total of 60 inspections. 16 of which were re-inspections, 5 of which were for openings, ownership changes, or pre-opening inspections to get new folks oriented and off the ground in a positive way. 4 of those were farmers market, 6 were the carnival, which was, at least from our perspective, a very successful event. The food vendors were fantastic. They were ready to go. They had everything they needed from permitting to inspections. It was a good event from our perspective. And then we also responded to 2 complaints. The critical violations include lack of choke-safe trained personnel, dates, labels, and food covering not being adequate, improper food protection, no paper towels at hand sinks, lack of access to a hand sink, glass or dishwashers not sanitizing properly, improper food separation, no sanitizers being used, coolers or food not at appropriate temperatures, dirty can openers, dirty ice machines, no gloves being used with ready-to-eat foods, sell-by dates missing on prepackaged food, and persons in charge not knowledgeable. And as I went back and I reviewed the reports from Nellie and thought about the inspections that I conducted with her, I think what is most challenging is not only is she conducting these inspections and finding these violations, but she's finding them over and over and over again. So it's one of those where she feels as though she's been working hard to continue to educate folks, whether they're new summertime help or whether they're, longtime employees who are, running at a hectic and harried pace. So she's struggling with the fact that she's seeing the same things over and over. So I figured by mentioning it to you, you can understand that she's disappointed that she has to do 16 re-inspections.
So is it time to re-up the re-inspection fee and the fines schedule? To make it more of a monetary hit than it is just a inconvenience hit?
So yes, the short version is yes. Joan is in the process of taking not just food, but reviewing the fee schedules from other communities and towns to see what they're doing and how they're doing it, and seeing where we fit in, and planning to adjust to make sure we fit in, and yes, to hopefully make them realize, the folks that for whatever reason can't follow through, make them realize that this is serious, and if $75 isn't serious, maybe $100 is. I'm not sure what the perfect solution is, but yes, we are in the process of reviewing our fee schedule as a whole so that we can potentially and hopefully bring it to you for implementation for calendar year 2018.
Has there been any talk of, like, if it's the same violators, making sure that they do some kind of refresher with their employees? That she has to have a sign-off sheet so she knows, Susie's been through this refresher. She can ask, she'll have it on her. I know in my past, that's what some of them have done. That you had to do a for repeat offenders or whatever past Board of Health that I've seen in the business made you, review temperatures, review hold times, review, you made up the sheet of what your hold times and temperatures and everything, and then you reviewed it with your employees, and some kind of a sign-off sheet that Susie or Doug or whatever's gone through it, so when she's in there, she can say, well, Susie, you went through this, if it is the person she's dealing with.
So like a temperature log
Right.
kind of thing. We have not required that, other than the 1 or 2, at least in my presence, where we've called them before the board because they are, have the same issues
Right.
over and over, where they then did implement their logs and they did provide them to us. And when Nellie went in, she would, make sure that they were doing that. And we can certainly do that with these folks too. It just seems to be very broad right now. That there was one week in particular where everywhere she went, it seemed to be a struggle. So I'm hoping that, as you said last time, you know, maybe it's that kind of summertime influx, but all the more reason to be extra vigilant.
Yeah, sickness doesn't
So-
take a vacation.
No, unfortunately, it doesn't, and
Excellent.
she, you know, she tries really hard to
So if a
provide that
restaurant,
education.
I know I've gone through this before, so a restaurant gets inspected, we don't know when they come in. Nellie goes and checks out a
That's right.
restaurant.
That's right.
They don't know, which is a great thing. And then she goes in and says, okay, you have this violation or that violation, you have 2 majors and you have a couple of minors, and there's a report filled out. I'll be back on Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, if they don't correct those, is that, I mean, does she have violators that don't correct at that point?
That's what she's been seeing in the last couple of weeks, which is why
Now,
it's very
when does it
frustrating.
trigger them to come before the board? I mean, does it go once, twice, or 3 times? I mean, you know, I can't see it going 4 or 5 times. They should be here in public. I get the one time, everybody can be off their game, and I don't believe there should be punishment, there should be reinspection, there should be, you know, this is what you gotta do. But if it gets into the second or third time, you know, I think they should come before the board, just to have a talk with us, to say, this is what can happen, or this is, you know, do you really wanna be in front of a public audience? Do you really wanna be on TV?
And she does stress that. I mean, she stresses that, you know, her
I mean-
inspection reports are public, and that there's always the opportunity or, well, chance.
I mean, they
that
can become more public, and I don't wanna go down that road. I mean, that's
Right.
terrible for the
Right.
business, but if you're gonna ignore things or not do what you're asked to do,
Just blatant
from a
that.
safety point,
Well, the
then-
thing is, I mean, for the reinspection, she tells you when she's gonna be there.
Correct.
You can't have that ready a week after the fact, or 10 days, or whatever the day she tells you she's coming back, then.
especially on the majors.
There's some inherent issue going on. and-
Right.
And maybe, well, you know the offenders, maybe you just need to compile that short list that just says, okay, XYZ person, kinda like we did with a few of the other ones. And XYZ person keeps having this repeated problem, it's not fixed, they've been
And
given.
it gets to the third
every
time, I think
opportunity.
it gotta be a visit.
Right,
So when.
and obviously $75 is not a deterrent.
Yeah. Although. there-
Especially if you're
although-
not getting any other backlash from it, and you're just paying the
Yeah,
fee
right,
and,
just pay the fee.
Well,
Yeah.
even that's a struggle. So we spend a lot of time sending out
Chasing
our initial
money.
letter. Then we send out, you know, about 30 days later, you haven't paid your reinspection fee. And if I have to get to the point where I send yet a third letter, it's you pay this, or this is the day you're coming before the board. And remarkably, the money shows up at that point. But it takes, for some, it takes 2 and 3 letters to get the reinspection fees paid, which is another struggle. So,
Well, then just start compiling that list, and if the habitual offenders, then they're gonna have to come before us, I guess. You know,
I mean, should it go to the 3 letters? I mean, they know they're being re-inspected. The 1 letter, you have until such and such, instead of giving them that second and third time.
yeah, why waste your time?
Yeah.
Why
I mean,
waste
when
your
you send
time?
it out, the due date is due, you know, July 1. If not, you will be at the next board meeting. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I know they gotta pay $75. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than paying 20 grand for someone that gets sick and you lose your license or you lose your business.
lose your business, that's right.
I mean,
In the restaurant business,
Right.
I would think coming before the Board of Health is bad PR.
Oh,
Right.
it's the worst. I think it's the worst.
and I think that's why Nellie strives as hard as she does to, you know, to try to educate. You know, some inspectors will walk in, you know, they won't say a word, you know, they'll write down their stuff, say, you know, here's your list, and,
Yeah,
you know.
fix
she-
it, right.
Right, and I think she tries to kind of go the extra mile,
And
especially
and
knowing.
educate people.
Yeah,
Well,
especially knowing.
But that's what we want, you wanna help people, you wanna be
Right.
there for them, I wanna see business successful in Scituate, but don't take advantage of it on the other side.
Yeah, and don't ignore it.
And don't ignore it,
It's not
that's-
advantage, it's just ignoring, it's just
Right.
flat out ignoring. If you're given the date that she's coming back to re-inspect a dirty, whatever it may be, and you ignore it as the business owner and or the manager, whomever it may be, then that's a little inherent issue.
Yeah.
That's a little hard. So
Agreed.
compile your short list, present it to us, just send us all
Sure.
an email and just say, these are the 3 people or 4 people, whomever. And then if on the next time Nellie goes back and something's really not fixed, then, I mean,
All right.
that's what I'm hearing from you and Nellie.
Yes, yes,
So-
it's the same
I would
violations.
go-
That's what I'm
and then
hearing.
it's-
From the same
I would go
people.
one letter and
Yeah.
give them a date, or else they'll be in front of the board.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah, like I says, I get it once.
No more Mr. No
Shouldn't-
more Mr. Nice Guy from Nellie, You know, if she's seeing the same things, then it's just not right. Because we all frequent those restaurants, so it's the last thing. All right.
all right, so that's what I have. I'm not sure if our
Okay.
Any other
remaining
to your
guest
report?
has,
Any other to your report with other things that you do?
what's that?
Well, you gave a nice list of things you do. Did you have your flu shots on there and your other
Oh,
clinics
yeah,
that you
all the
do?
other wonderful things.
I think
The
you've.
good stuff.
Yeah, but it's still work that
So, yeah.
the office has to do and that you do, and
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it than that list you said, which was a pretty
Absolutely.
big
Yeah.
compiled list.
Yeah, these are the big ones, but yeah, I mean, our public health nurse works really hard to get the flu clinics ready. She does typically a minimum of 4 to 6, various times a day, various locations to try to capture folks who need it. She does blood pressure clinics every week around town.
Organizes
she-
the mammograms?
The mammogram van, yep, which is to be announced soon in terms of the full-on publicity, but she's working with Dana-Farber to have it return in September. So that'll, hopefully by the next meeting, we'll be able to fully announce it, and she'll be well on her way with coordinating with them. So, yeah, and there's certainly some, public education and preemptive care that we try to provide as well to the everyday basics that we are tasked
Did all the
to cover.
testing for the schools over last year for the water?
Yeah, and we're still following
Did
up
some
on that.
tick education with Lyme disease and different things, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, we did that, last summer or maybe 2 summers ago, and our public health nurse works with rec and some other community members on melanoma education, since melanoma is actually the one cancer in town that is statistically significantly elevated for Scituate relative to the cancer reporting.
Because we have the most beautiful beaches on the South
That's
Shore. Why
right.
wouldn't we?
We
Come
have
on.
fair skin and beautiful beaches.
That's right.
So melanoma is absolutely a very dangerous killer, if not caught and not looked at quickly. So she does the education.
Where are the glioblastoma cases?
I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, next up, other business. Do you have some POs to sign?
I do. I don't know if
Oh,
our guests
I'm
have
sorry.
anything.
I'll go. No, I'm Karen Campbell, I'm running for selectman, and I wanted to, I picked the right night to come.
You sure did.
The whole breadth of everything.
It's tailor-made for you
Thank you so
then.
much for doing, no, but it's amazing, the work that you guys all do, so I wanted to learn about it, so maybe I'll be calling you to ask
I
you
was
some
gonna say, do you have any
questions.
questions?
Should I be excused?
Well, no, stay as long as you like.
My phone's blowing up, so I figured.
All right, well, thank you for coming.
All right.
Good
All right,
luck.
thank you.
Good luck with your
Good night.
campaign.
Good
Thanks, I
night.
look forward to talking to you guys.
Oh, and I have one reminder, ethics, sexual harassment, all of that paperwork, is due. So I will resend out the information to you, so that you
Nobody has time for that.
have the ability to complete them. So here are the POs to sign. I'll send them down the line.
And 2 minutes.
June 26th and July 10th.
I think she sent these out the other day.
Yeah.
Did I read this one?
like a hurricane house
I
then.
know.
The tide came up pretty good.
They
It's a 12-footer last night. I think
That's
11-9 tonight.
Tonight
will
might
splash
be.
over maybe tonight.
Yeah, that wind keeps up, it might splash over tonight.
Yep. Cole Parkway would be a,
Your foot shoes.
that's that one.
That one there, I wasn't at the whole meeting, so,
Which one, this one?
yeah.
This is the last one.
I'm sending another, this one down the line.
What is this?
It's related to the order on the first page. They sent us the wrong thing, so we had to reorder while we're waiting for a return and lots of paperwork to try to get the right items we've ordered.
We'll just take it home. All right, so Doug, you weren't present for this whole meeting, so you cannot vote on it?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
All right, so, I will make the motion to accept the agenda, to accept the meeting minutes from June 26th for Mr. Dougie White and myself.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And if you wanna make the motion for that one.
I make the motion to approve the minute meetings of July 10th, 2017.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Congrats, Dougie.